Welcome, hopeless romantics and truth seekers, to a new stellar edition of Turkish series stars. Tonight we dim the lights, hush the noise of the outside world, and lean into a glow that feels almost secret. We're stepping away from the parade of red carpets and bottle service to witness something smaller, softer, and infinitely more powerful, a celebration of togetherness that unfolded live before millions of curious eyes. Before we dive into this evening's tender roller coaster, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss our most intimate updates. Tap that like button to send us a burst of love, and ring the bell so you're always first in line. And for those of you who want to slip behind the velvet rope and support what we do, the join button is lit with perks you'll absolutely adore. Settle in, your heart is about to swell. In an age where status seems measured by the size of the guest list and the sparkle of the champagne tower, one of the most adored on-screen duos, forever linked to the magic of Herkai, quietly rewrote the rules. Akınözü and Ebru Şahin, whose chemistry once sent shockwaves through living rooms around the world, chose to mark this special night not in a club or a glitzy ballroom, but in the sanctuary of home. No velvet ropes. No paparazzi swarm. Just two people, side by side, letting us peer through the window of a moment that felt almost too real to be shared. Their live stream sparked to life as evening deepened into a luminous twilight, instantly drawing a tidal wave of viewers. The comments surged like a heartbeat across the screen as the first frame settled into focus. There were no strobe lights, no thundering bass lines, only a warm, amber light wrapping the room in calm. Through broad windows, a city shimmered like a necklace of tiny stars, blinking in quiet admiration. The night didn't scream, it sighed, and everyone watching seemed to lean closer to hear what it was whispering. Then she appeared, and the air changed. Ebru stepped into frame wearing a red dress so vivid it felt like a declaration. It wasn't loud, it was certain. It carried the kind of symbolism only she could pull off. Passion without chaos, confidence without noise, a celebration of life that doesn't need to ask permission. The soft lights caught the folds of fabric as if to hold them, and for a moment the entire chat seemed to gasp in unison. You could feel the temperature of the room rise through the screen. Beside her stood Akın, the calm counter-melody to her vibrant note. His style was clean, understated, meticulously elegant, not an attempt to rival Ebru's boldness, but to frame it. He looked at her the way a painter looks at light, not to possess it, but to understand it. The natural symmetry between them didn't need to be announced. It hummed quietly, steady as a pulse, and fans flooded the chat with messages about how in sync they seemed, two people speaking a language that doesn't require words. Their conversation wandered without the choreography of publicity. They teased each other with the ease of old friends who know where every line ends and where affection begins. Laughter bubbled up often, real and unguarded, the kind that folds warmth into the spaces between words. And then, at intervals, the tone softened and turned inward. They lowered their voices, sharing thoughts that felt less like performance and more like confession. It didn't feel like we were watching from behind a barrier, it felt like we'd been invited to sit on their couch, coffee mugs warming our hands, part of the hush. Akın's glances toward Ebru were unmissable. Sometimes open and proud, sometimes quick as a heartbeat when he forgot a camera sat between them. Ebru's smile gave her away too, that unplanned brightness that appears when comfort meets joy. She played digital hostess, reading messages aloud with gratitude, thanking fans for years of loyalty, for sticking around through seasons, stories, headlines, and silences. Meanwhile, Akın offered wishes for everyone watching, health, calm, good news, and time with the right people. It rang with sincerity, the kind that rarely survives a spotlight. Be honest, Turkish series stars family, doesn't a night like this make you rethink the word celebration? Is it about chandeliers and celebrity sightings, or is it about the person whose presence makes any room feel like home? Tell us where your heart lands, somewhere loud with 100 faces, or curled up on a couch with one. Dive into the comments, we're reading every line. And if this kind of deep dive into real feeling speaks to you, remember that the join button is your key to support the channel and help us bring more moments like this into focus. As time edged forward and the city outside settled into its glittering hush, an electricity built in the room. Not the kind that crackles with spectacle, the kind that gathers in gentle crescendos. The moment neared, a little countdown that meant everything and nothing all at once, and the energy between them sharpened into something luminous. In those last quiet seconds, Akın drew Ebru close, his arms forming a careful shelter. They welcomed the next beat of the night together, smiling into each other's nearness as if the world had been invited but only they had RSVP'd. The chat exploded, hearts, exclamation marks, entire strings of joyful disbelief. Clips began to multiply across social media before the embrace had even ended. Glass met glass with a delicate chime. Behind them, the city threw glints of light like confetti, and they offered the room, and by extension, all of us, a toast. They didn't speak in slogans. They spoke like people who have seen how quickly time moves and have chosen to hold what matters. Viewers swore they could feel it, the sense that this wasn't a ploy or a photo op, but an echo of something honest. Skeptics quieted. Fans leaned into hope. And someone typed what everyone else seemed to be thinking: with the right person, any celebration becomes perfect. What one overwhelming praise all night wasn't flash, it was ease. Ebru leaned toward the camera now and then as if to bridge the digital gap, sending affectionate little waves and blowing a kiss that felt playfully old-fashioned. Akın answered with jokes that were light but never careless, warm without trying too hard. The overall effect was a space that felt safe, like a living room with the door cracked open for those who know where to knock. When the stream faded to black, the conversation didn't end. It spilled onto timelines and story feeds, into group chats and fan pages, where clips were replayed and reinterpreted and cherished. One screenshot began to race ahead of the rest, Ebru tipping her head against Akın's shoulder, red silk catching the light while his suit framed the moment like a portrait. The image struck a nerve. People called it the truest moment of the night, a snapshot that felt less like publicity and more like breathing. What made it resonate wasn't the memory of her Kai, though that certainly lit the fuse. It was the simplicity of two people choosing quiet over noise, presence over presentation. It hinted at what real contentment looks like, the certainty that you don't need the whole world in your living room if you already have the right person on your couch. During the stream, Akın murmured a line that landed like poetry, not rehearsed but felt: with you here, the night needs nothing else. The expression in Ebru's eyes answered before her voice did. They traded wishes when the moment turned, hopes braided with the gentlest kind of resolve. Ebru spoke about health and peace, about holding on to small joys and making room for calm. It wasn't grand or showy, but you could hear the care stitched into every syllable. The room around them echoed the sentiment, minimalist but warm, modern lines softened by textures, candles winking low, and just beyond the glass, the skyline blinking its approval. The soundtrack was barely there, a soft thread weaving through the hush, and fans commented that the whole scene felt like a remedy the day didn't know it needed. At one point, Ebru tilted the camera toward the view. She laughed softly, the kind of sound that makes you think of clean air and fresh starts, and said something about how right it felt to begin the evening in that kind of glow. Gratitude hung in the air, and for a few breaths the chat slowed as if everyone were taking it in at once. Then the flood began again, memories of her Kai, hopes for future projects, confessions about how long fans had waited to see them together like this, even if only for a night. Another theme echoed through the comments: respect. The way Akın instinctively adjusted the throw over the back of the couch so Ebru could settle more comfortably. The way she reached for his hand without glancing away from a question she was answering. Little things that add up to a big picture, the kind of balance you can't force. In a world built on headlines that burn out by morning, this felt like a candle carried carefully through a dark room. Don't be surprised if the spotlight finds them again soon. Not for spectacle, but because the quiet they chose made more noise than any party could. Fans are already buzzing about what might come next, what roles could capture this different shade of their energy, what projects might let them meet on a screen again without the weight of expectation. And if they simply decide to keep choosing nights like this, well, that would be a story too. What we're going to remember is the vision of that crimson dress and the calm of that careful embrace, the way time seemed to pause while the city kept blinking on behind them. We're going to remember the unguarded laughter, the shared stillness, and the hush that followed when the stream ended and the night went on without us. For some, it will be the turning point, proof that the best moments don't need confetti cannons or a guest list curated for cameras. They need sincerity and space and a heartbeat you can hear. So we close tonight's chapter here at Turkish series Stars with that image etched into the softest part of memory. Two silhouettes at a window, a red dress like a flame that never burns, a shoulder offered, a hand accepted. Tell us what you felt watching them. Do you think that dress will belong to the Hall of Unforgettable Celebrity Moments? Did this change how you picture the perfect celebration? Pour your thoughts into the comments. We're staying up to read. Before you drift off to your own midnight fantasies, show some love with a like, subscribe to join our ever-growing family, and share this video with every Herkai devotee you know. And remember, that join button is your VIP pass, your way of keeping this space glowing. Until next time, may your nights be honest, your company gentle, and your stories as real as this one felt.